So back in the 40s, the ETs gifted us with something called the Yellow Book. And it was a machine with which they could look back and forth through time and model the statistical probability of certain timelines. Now, the reason they gave us this was to prove to our scientists that our pollution was going to lead to environmental catastrophe. And this is back in the 40s. They were saying this. So with this yellow cube, our scientists developed something called looking glass, with which they can obtain information from the future and from the past. I don't know if they can move around in time. I don't know if they're capable of that, but they can at least obtain information. Now, as it is, if governments and corporations working together in this secret ultranational power structure that used to be called Majestic, if they do nothing, there is a real chance in one of these timelines that we will encounter something similar to an extinction event. That's how bad the chain reaction of all the related systems in the biosphere collapsing, that's how bad it could get. And the ETs have literally been willing to risk their lives to come here and tell us this. Now, on the other hand, if we simply utilize what they're giving us, free energy, physical materialization, knowledge transfer, our entire civilization will be uplifted. We could live almost like semi-divine beings with extremely extended lifespans and immense knowledge bases and almost unimaginable riches, I will call them. Now, of consciousness, they've told me that I perceive only a tiny fraction of the realm of consciousness. You could sort of try to model it like a radio frequency spectrum. We're only picking up a tiny little fraction of what it can be. And they are willing to deliver us to a much higher level of consciousness, where our entire experience of existence will be immensely richer. And if you call it a sensory apparatus, consciousness, well, then ours will be greatly expanded if we relinquish this war economy and try to move forward to the next phase of our development. And the message from them is collectively humans must choose to take the path forward. The celestial peoples will not force this on us. And I think that's why it's such a good idea that Stephen Greer is putting together what appears to be a worldwide grassroots movement that spans across all nationalities and all borders and includes all groups. Eventually, that's what we're shooting for, because right now government doesn't appear to be willing to do this. At this time, we still use a modified barter system that can be traced all the way back to pre-agriculture. Allocochick, or shell money, it is essentially the same as poker chips, tiddlywinks, and money, and all the advanced credit systems that we now use. And digital currency is just as worthless, raised to a mathematical abstraction of trivia. Um, in fact, with the ET tech, everything is free. The illusion that something should cost money is a carefully curated fantasy which permits a centralization of power and influence. That's what we have now. Just a handful of trillionaires think they can own human destiny. And we can move beyond this, and the trillionaires themselves will be infinitely more wealthy than they are now if they allow us and they join us in moving on to a higher realm of consciousness and the next phase of our evolutionary development.